Hello everyone, Eric Chappelle, Civil Community Evangelist for Autodesk, and I want to welcome you today to our webcast, Troubleshooting InfraWorks. The star of the show today is Karsten, and he's from our technical support team. He'll be sharing with you, I understand, lots of secrets about getting the most out of InfraWorks. Also with me today, Elliot Rosenfeld, who you've heard from in the past, is going to be kind of in the background answering any questions that you guys have. So I appreciate both of those guys being here to provide some great information today. Before we get to the main presentation though, just in case we've got some folks who are new to our webcast series, I just want to talk to you about what we've been doing. This month will be 2 solid years of doing this webcast series, and pretty much on schedule. We've been doing it on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. About the only time we ever skip is during Autodesk University time, because it's pretty much all hands on deck for Autodesk during that week. But other than that, we've been pretty consistent. We've also recorded all of the previous webcasts, so if you ever want to check out something we've done in the past, please go to our community site, which I'll share the URL for in a bit, and check out any past recordings. The goal of this webcast series is to get you information about our civil product features. Primarily we talk about InfraWorks and Civil 3D, but there are other products that enter into the mix sometimes. It's a chance to hear from Autodesk directly, and also a chance for you to ask questions and provide feedback. And I will provide some details on that soon as well. And generally speaking, we just want you guys, the users of our products, to have a better, closer relationship with us, the folks who make the product. I want to let you know about our next webcast. This is coming up on Wednesday, April 19th from 12 to 1. It's What's New in InfraWorks and Civil 3D, and we are going to have a special live broadcast. You'll hear from Dan Philbrick, Dave Simeone, Sarah Cunningham. You probably all recognize those names from our product team in Manchester, so we're excited about that webcast and what's going to be covered. So we hope to see you all there and then some. Let us know what you want to see in upcoming webcasts. So if you go to your questions window, just type in if there's a topic on your mind. Man, I wish Autodesk would talk about this or share some information about that. Please share your ideas and just post them right up to the questions panel. That all goes on record, and I can look that up when I'm planning webcast topics in the future. So we love to hear what you guys have on your minds as far as what you want to see. Got a few polls that I want to throw at you. The first one is one that if you're a veteran of the webcast series, you've seen this one before. We want to know what your current usage level of InfraWorks is, ranging from I don't even have it installed to an inability to live without it. So let us know where you land as far as your usage level. And as I would expect with today's topic, we have a heavy showing on I regularly use it on some projects. So I expected to see a lot of InfraWorks users with the topic we're going to cover today, and that's what's happening. 44% of you are in that category right now. I regularly use it on some projects. 35% have dabbled in it. And then 9% I've got it installed, played with it a few times. 2% don't even have it installed. 12% use it on every project. So thanks to everyone who voted on that poll. The next one is, what kind of work do you do with InfraWorks? And this is you can choose as many of these as you like. If they all apply, choose them all. If one or two, choose the ones that apply. And we want to know what you're doing with the product. What types of projects are you finding it the most valuable for, or are you doing most commonly in the company or organization that you work for? Right now we're seeing 70% on GIS data compilation for early site project planning, 60% road design, 80% visualizing projects, 51% site design. I know those don't all add up to 100. Remember, there's multiple choices. So it looks like visualizing project is the winner, with 80% of you saying that you use it for that purpose. So thanks again. I've got one more. Really appreciate the information that you guys provide in these polls. This one is, what is your main obstacle that's getting in the way of full InfraWorks adoption in your company or organization? So lots of different choices here: cost of the software, lack in product functionality, lack of clarity on where it fits into your workflow. Maybe Civil 3D does everything you need to do in your office, and maybe you've got some obstacles with the cost of training and implementation. So let us know, what's standing in your way with full InfraWorks implementation in your company. And we've got a tie right now between lacking product functionality and unclear how to incorporate InfraWorks. So some interesting results there. Thanks again to everyone who provided answers to the polls. We had about 70% response on those, so that's awesome. That's a great cross-section of people. I'm going to go ahead and close down the current poll and we'll move on, because I know you're anxious to hear what Karsten has to say. I want to let you know about our Autodesk Civil Engineering community. If you're paying very close attention, I used to refer to this as our InfraWorks community, and actually we're expanding this now to include Civil 3D as well and other products. You'll see more and more developments on that as we go. The URL is listed there on the screen, and from this location you'll find a central hub where you can go out to the forums, idea stations, InfraTips, which is a blog of short InfraWorks 360 tips that you can look at, the gallery, which is in fact a combined civil infrastructure gallery if you want to see what other folks are doing, other users of the software like you guys. What kind of projects are they working on? What are they doing with the software? InfraWorks and all of our civil infrastructure products are represented up there, so it's definitely an interesting thing to check out. And as I mentioned, videos. We've recorded all of these webcasts, plus we've got lots of other videos that pertain to, interesting technical information about all of our products, so definitely check that stuff out. If you're interested, if you're a contributor in the community already, if you're on the discussion forums and you're active and you're posting things on YouTube and you're blogging and you're active on social media, reach out, let me know. We have a program where you can be rewarded for that kind of activity. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, or if you're already doing some of the things that I just listed, it's a great fit for you to maybe join in and participate in this program. So hit me up on that email address below, and we'll see about getting you into the program. I don't believe we're going to get into any preview features or labs features today, but just in case, we always throw up this slide. Anything we talk about that has to do with preview or labs or anything coming in future releases, there's never any guarantee that you're going to see that until you actually see it in the release, so don't make any purchasing decisions based on forward-looking features. And I think that covers all of the formalities and housekeeping. I'm going to turn over the floor to Karsten now, and he's going to take you through troubleshooting InfraWorks. So Karsten, you now have the floor. Oh, and by the way, Karsten's joining us from Munich today, so we're doing a global webcast today. So thanks for joining us from so far away and so late in your day, Karsten.
Thank you, Eric. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Can you see my screen?
We are hearing and seeing you, Karsten.
Okay. So my first question is, what's wrong with this slide? And the answer is it's reading InfraWorks 360, and the future the 360 will be erased from the product naming, as far as I know. So my name is Karsten Saenger. I'm a product support specialist, and I'm sitting in the Munich office. So in my time zone, I can say good evening, and I hope everyone can understand me with my German accent. I've prepared some slides for you. Okie dokie. Basically, I have prepared three main topics. The easy stuff is support best practices, how to get support, how to access the knowledge base, or what you can do from the knowledge base, and what is a customer error report. This might be also interesting for other products. I think every one of you have already seen these reports, and maybe someone has or is wondering what is this support system all about. The second part is troubleshooting InfraWorks, some ideas and ways to track down errors and find the issues that you might have with the program, including InfraWorks and Git, which will be actually the main part. It's more or less how the product works under the hood, and yeah, you need to know, this is a lot of text slides, but you really need to know and understand how InfraWorks is working behind the scenes to understand what might be wrong with the product or with the model. I have also prepared or added this working with proposals slide or point here. It will it's actually a link to a knowledge base article where I have added a Word document that shows best practices to work with proposals. I think today we don't have time for take a deep look into it. I can show you the document later on, and can only encourage you to open this article and read the document. As last part of this presentation, I have some tips and tricks from you that I gathered from my latest support cases, and I found very interesting to share with others. So how to get the product support? You can either, there are many ways to get product support, for example, from your Autodesk accounts. I find it the easiest way to open it from the Autodesk Knowledge Network. It's the same for all Autodesk products. It looks like that screenshot I have placed in here. You can go there to the help files, the troubleshooting articles, downloads, and what is easily overseen is the bottom part, and you have 3 important links there to the InfraWorks 360 forums, to the InfraWorks 360 Ideas Board, and of course the contact support, where you can create support cases for your issues. I suggest, if it's not secret stuff that you want to share, to post or to log a post in the forums. The advantage, if you do that, is that many other users are available and experts are happy to answer your issue in the forum right away. And if nobody has an answer, or you don't mark your forum post as solved, the forum post gets forwarded to the contact to the support organization automatically. So then you have automatically a support case from your forum case. I just mentioned some other very interesting blogs that help you with InfraWorks and give you tips. It's the Bimagination blog, the InfraWorks 363 Infra Tips, and of course the InfraWorks 360 Community, where all, for example, you can see example projects and the recordings of all webcasts. Small tip, if you log a support case with us, use Autodesk Screencast to show your issues. Many times I have to ask the customers or you guys first, what is your issue exactly? I need steps to recreate it to fully understand what you're doing. And I think the fastest and easiest way is to just show it what you're doing on the screen. Let's talk about the CER reporting. Everyone has seen this before, I guess, and is wondering what it is. And it's actually an automated system, and it notifies a user if a fix is available, if the issue is categorized as or linked to a known issue or a defect. And our development team uses it to improve product stability, and it can be used to link technical support cases to defects logged with the development. And our development team really looks at the database on a regular basis and tries to spot high volume issues or critical reports. It's not a black hole, and it's not that anyone is reading it. It's not an attempt to steal your design. It's not marketing or spam, and it's of course not a support case or a replacement for support. So don't expect someone from the support team contacting you if you have sent in a CER report. So the normal high-level workflow is you send in a CER, and this is received by the Autodesk server, and the system is automatically categorizing it, placing it into buckets, and if a solution is found for your issue, you will be notified. The information that is collected is your system information, the last commands that run when shortly before the program crashed, the name of the drawing that was open, the memory addresses and process stack, other applications that were active, and you can read details about the privacy policy of Autodesk in this link. So the best thing if you send in a report is to put in your email address so that the support team member can find your issue, or if you sometimes or many times you have directly a CER report number, that also helps us to identify and find your CER report in the system. If you add some details, step-by-step description, how to reproduce the crash would be optimal. You can see in the lower right corner what files are sent with the report. It's the dump user file, dump data zip, and a dump file. And would like to quickly show you how the report looks like. This is our access to the database, and I can, for example, read or search for an email address or the report number usually. And if I search for my email address in the last 30 days, I can see a few reports sent in, and one of them was actually with InfraWorks crashing. If I open this report, I have it open here, I can see the 3 files that were sent together with the report. For example, the crash XML file. It shows what programs are installed on the system. There are a lot of programs in my case, and in the very bottom end I can see some information from my computer, what type of computer I have, what is the RAM I have installed, and what is very important, what is my graphic cards, because InfraWorks is very demanding a very powerful graphic card. So what else can I see in this thing here? It's my last command. I must say I'm not an expert of all these really technical development stuff. I don't know what Qt5 GUI is, maybe something with a graphical user interface. I don't know. I can open the bucket path, and I can see some statistics about this special report that ended in this bucket. I have an associated defect number with that. I can open this defect number then and see in our system what is it about. I can also see that there were 5 reports with InfraWorks 2017.3 and 9 reports with the second version of 2017, and so on. And this all together gives me an impression about the importance and also the statistics of the issue. Of course, your comments are also available, so sometimes it's really funny and what the users are entering here. The second part is InfraWorks Log Files, or starts with InfraWorks Log Files. You can find the log files in your application folder under your username in the InfraWorks folders, and the log file itself is already naming your version. It's Autodesk InfraWorks, as you can see here. Oops, It's version 2017.3, so you can see directly from the log file what InfraWorks version you're using. It mentions the date and the time. And each time InfraWorks is started, you will a new log file will be created, and as long as you have one InfraWorks version open, you will have logs just added to this log file. The log file is not documented, or let's say that the contents of the log files. There's no data table that says if this and that is in the log file, this and such error is probably causing it. The only thing that you can do is read the log files carefully, find out what is a normal entry in a log file, even with there are some warnings like this one here in the middle, unknown file, warning, cube, object, and so on. This is all normal. Sometimes in some you also have some errors logged, but these are also normal. So the only thing or the only way to find out what is unusual in a log file is to compare it with a working log file or with a log file where no issues occurred. If you read some of these log files, you will learn and you will find out after a while what is really unusual about that. The log file also gives you a lot of information about the InfraWorks version, and it also mentions the graphic cards information and the model and some paths and of the model that are being opened. If you have problems with the installation of InfraWorks, the InfraWorks installation log files are created in a temp folder, such as all Autodesk installation log files. There are 3 log files as far as I know. One is a short version and one is a very detailed version up to 30 megabytes in size. It shows every registry entry that is created, and if in the Windows registry for InfraWorks, and it's a lot of information there. So if you have problems with the installation of InfraWorks, just have a look at that. But I must say, from my experience, InfraWorks installs pretty nicely. If you have problems, it's with the models or with the program itself. There is also a link for a nice blog post that my colleague Elliot created. It's about how to deploy an installation of InfraWorks on several systems. If you are a network administrator and you need to deploy InfraWorks, just open this one and you have a step-by-step instruction. Another source for possible errors is the Microsoft system information file. This is the NFO file. You can access it with if you open the Windows Start and you run a command msinfo32 and the file is being opened. It will look like that. I hope you can read all the German language because my system is in German. But there are actually 3 main parts that are interesting if you're working with InfraWorks issues. The first one is the system overview. It gives you an idea about the installed RAM, which type of system again, and so on. The second one is the graphic cards in use. Many users have 2 graphic cards. It was in the very beginning where InfraWorks where we received a lot of support cases where InfraWorks didn't want to start because the integrated mainly Intel HD graphic card was used instead of the more powerful, for example, NVIDIA card or AMD card. And you see also, which is very important, the driver date. My driver is outdated by 3 months, so I think I will update my driver after this presentation. And the last hint for errors is the Windows error reporting, and I usually or regularly check this if I get a system information file for any unusual and repeating stuff or errors in Windows. This might give you a hint what's going on. And I have also an example later on where this helped me to solve a support case. InfraWorks and Git. What is Git? It's actually a source code management tool. By the way, this is also not documented and so to say all secret stuff. And I want just to give you an overview what Git does and show with some examples how Git works and how InfraWorks works with the model and how Git interacts with the model. So Git is a source code management tool, and it is very good at versioning and managing different branches of files and at storing and computing difference between text files in a small footprint. I made the text files bold because Git can only compare text-based files. And here's the first problem, that InfraWorks does not actually have, or by data sources and by using a SQLite file for the model, it's not text-based. The versioning of the Git keeps track of the history, and the branching provides the logic for the proposals. So Git is mainly, or the reason why you can use proposals is because InfraWorks uses Git. For InfraWorks, Git is a special kind of database for tracking files. It computes, stores differences in the model and takes up less data to track. So in InfraWorks, we have mainly two main techniques. The one is the SQLite files, and the other one is using Git to manage the proposals. A proposal is, or when you create a model, you will get a master proposal, and this is the main branch for storing the data. The SQLite file contains the data in the current active proposal. Actually, it contains all data for the whole model. It's like a big bucket where all the data ends in, and the Git is used like a source of filter where you can define a certain view on the SQLite database, and this certain view is one proposal. And if you edit the filter, you create another proposal. This data is stored in the SQLite tables and are written to text files. This is very important so that Git can be used to track changes to the data. Git's main use is the branching or proposals in InfraWorks, and when you change the proposals, the SQLite file with the data specific to that proposal is recreated. So it's a back and forward translation of the SQLite tables to text files and back to the SQLite table. When you change the well, let's continue here. When there are proposals, the SQLite is more likely a view on the current active proposal, and when you change your proposals, you present the data stored in a different branch of Git. This screenshot shows you the SQLite view on the SQLite table, and I think we have already covered all this stuff. I will save time and go over it. So the structure of a model. If you open your model, you see, or your model path, you see actually the SQLite file, the model.sqlite database, and a model.files folder. If you open that folder, you will see the feature repository, and the feature repository is the main data of the model for all proposals. If you open the unware folder, you do have a second Git and it's a meta repository that contains data that is common for all other proposals. The Git folder and for example, also the Git ignore file is usually hidden, and you need to make it visible in the Windows Explorer. So what happens behind the scenes? Git is, as already mentioned, text-based, except of 3D models which are binary. The text files for the SQLite database are stored in the exploded folder. That's here in the bottom. I can show you in my file. So this is a test file that is just created by the model builder. It does not contain any data that I have added, so it's just downloaded from the cloud. And I can see that there's, for each data source, there's a special folder. And if I open, for example, the buildings, I can see there are text files for, oh, that's on the second screen. There are text files that were translated from the SQLite database. Each number is one row in the database, and that's how Git is managing all the data. As said, each folder contains one or more text files that store a simple text representation of the data. Each file stores only so many rows. The more rows in the table, the more files. When you edit the model, the change from the SQLite rows are written back to the text files, and those changes to the files are differences and then committed to Git. Not all data is stored in Git. Some data is stored externally, like the raster imagery and point clouds. This data generally is stored in the resources folder. So I open up the folder again, and I open the resources folder. I see some binary files. In this case, it's the terrain surfaces from the model builder, and I see the terrain textures from the Bing Live Maps, which are created the way that InfraWorks can read it easily and quickly. Any data that are not supposed to be stored with Git are listed in the Git ignore file. The Git ignore file, also a text file, and it shows the paths and to the data that is not managed by Git. The unware folder, as already mentioned, is the meta repository, and we don't want to have Git managing a Git file. And the other ones are mainly paths to binary or very large projects, not projects, data. Proposals and syncing, what happens if you do that? So you create a model, and the data is added to the master proposal or main branch in the Git feature repository. Then you create a new or second proposal, and Git creates a new branch and keeps track of just the differences between master and the new branch. I will show you that later in an example, just to show what happens, and you can see that live with a test model. When you switch the proposals, Git reads all the data from the master and then applies just the differences and presents a new view of the SQLite file. When you merge proposals, you're copying the changes from one branch to another, because everything in Git is versioned. Only the most recent version of the data is presented. That is why edits from one branch, when merged, overwrite the history in the branch you merge into. I think at this point I show you again, or this Word file working with proposals in InfraWorks 360, and I really encourage you to read that, because it not only shows you how InfraWorks works, if you add new proposal and later on maybe merge proposals, but also gives you some examples and best practices how to do that, and how to avoid data loss. When you publish a model to the cloud, only the Git and certain binary data are sent, the raster imagery and point clouds, for example. This reduces the amount of data transferred and stored. When you sync a model with the cloud, a copy of the Git repository is copied locally, and a difference is computed for each branch, and those changes are applied to the local repositories first, then combined changes are sent back to the cloud. Because the sync only deals with the differences, the sync operation is usually quick. There are some free available command line tools or Git viewing tools available in the internet. For example, a command line tool is the Git extensions. What I like more is, for example, a tool with more visually represents the Git data. I'm using the source tree, and the source tree program is actually also has an advantage because it comes with its own Git installation, so there's no interference with the InfraWorks Git installation. Very important, the tools are not meant to be or to troubleshoot corrupt InfraWorks models. You can get a very good overview of the model and insight of the model history. Okay, I start my, this is the model I've just created. It's a location close to where I live, southeast of Munich, and there are 5 Great Lakes. Very nice area for recreation. And if I open the same model in my source tree program, okay, that's the meter repository. If I open that one, I can see the first thing I see is colors. Everyone is driven by colors and symbols. I can see this line, and it starts at the very first point here and it grows up. That's one branch. It's my master proposal in the model. I have a overview of the master and the proposals in general, and I have an overview of certain tags. Tags are actually important points in the model or in where the model was either synced or published. So the program this is an action I've did because I see my name here, and the other actions by the Galileo user were added automatically by the system. I do have an overview of the dates when things happened, and also in the bottom part, if I scroll up down, I have exactly what happened at which date, at which point. When the model was created, there were some certain folders and data created and added to the model. Everything what's in green is added. If I see something in a pink, then it's removed from the model. So when the model was created, a git ignore file was added, a schema version was added. If I open the schema version, I see this one, it's 11.13, which represents the use of InfraWorks 2017.3. I have some styles, style definition and style palettes added to the model, so I can see the model is created. The next thing in this step or model creation is data sources were added. For example, buildings. Here's a list of all my buildings that were added during the model builder process, and it goes on like that. And if I add a new proposal, it takes a while, and I'm in the new proposal, and I add some, let's say, shapefile data, this one. It's a building. Come back to this example later on. Let's change back to the master, because I really want to make sure that I have differences between the master and the second proposal. I add other shapefile data. Oh, hold on. I create some roads, standard interstate, and a building. Anything that differs. Okie dokie. If I go back to the source tree and I review or refresh the view, I should see a second branch created. That's not correct. It's funny that this doesn't work right now because I have tested it before. Okay, let's see if it's just a refreshing issue. No, doesn't like it. Then I open another model. Let's open. I have a nice model. Where is it? Here we go. That's a model from a customer, and you can see you have when it was created very long time ago, and oh, that's going further. August 2013, with a first main master branch, and then a new branch was created, and a second branch was created. And you can go to each point in the branch and see what happened there. Schema was exploded. There was a model upgrade somewhere at some point. Here's data added, like that one, what exactly was added in this model, and so on. So this tool gives you a good possibility to find out what happened in the model at which point. Okay. Let's talk about models and errors. When you get an InfraWorks error that the model is corrupt, this can mean something is wrong with the Git or one of its supporting files. Other problems usually occur during an upgrade. Although some of these problems are data related, many are a result of Git already being corrupted in some fashion. So it could happen that the older version cannot see or read Git corruption, and the new version suddenly can read it and gives you an error. InfraWorks does try to correct only a few types of corruption automatically. The rest require to have a copy of the model and to analyze exactly what might be wrong with it. For example, a Git folder could be deleted by accident. If it's visible, the user just deletes it. Or if you copy an unzipped model or to a Google Drive or any other cloud drive, it could happen that the Git, some data is renamed, like the .gitignore file becomes underline the gitignore file, and this corrupts the model. Or if the exploded folder is deleted, Git treats all the exploded folder, as a reminder, is the translation of the SQLite table to text files. So Git cannot read any text files. It reads it as a full delete of the model and the model is empty. Files within the Git structure can also become corrupt or have data issues. These kinds of errors usually result in a Git error message being written to the log file. If a problem occurs, you cannot simply just revert the last commit in Git, because many other actions could be involved in that last commit. That's all from the dry stuff in this presentation. Now some tips and tricks. I think I have 10 minutes left. So it means one example. I have 10 examples, 1 example per minute. My main tip with InfraWorks is don't stick to the data types. In some cases, it could be very good to misuse objects. For example, a customer just wanted to have a representation of flooding in InfraWorks. The problem with if you add water areas in InfraWorks is it interferes with the terrain, and if you raise the water, you have steep borders in the terrain. Can show you in this. In this area, if you create any place, a water area, and you raise that water area up to a certain level, come on, it will all connect to the terrain at the borders, and you get the steep terrain. So what's the solution about that? You can misuse, for example, a building as a water area. That's the reason why I've already imported that building. If I use that building and place it below the terrain, say at 500 meters in this case, and I give the roof material a color of water, I can go to the building and raise the roof slightly. I can even type in the exact heights, and I can see slowly where it interferes or where it floods my terrain. So that's a slight workaround how to represent easily a flooding situation in InfraWorks. My second tip, if I have this model already open, you can see that the buildings, that was the next issue in this flooding case, the buildings are actually always draped to the terrain. But if you add this terrain or this water area, they flood on the water surface because the water is actually defined as terrain. How can we avoid it? How can we have the buildings staying on ground? And the solution is to give the buildings or to bake in a certain height for the buildings. The one way is if you add this data source. For example, if you have a shapefile, you can add an attribute in the shape attribute table and use this attribute as absolute height. If you don't have this information, like OpenStreetMap data in this case, you really need to select your buildings. Anyhow, I just take these 3 ones, and if you raise the buildings, let's say, up by 10 meters, and immediately raise it down by 10 meters, or lower it by 10 meters, the buildings are back in the original position, but the elevation is baked into the building data, let's say. So if I want to select this one. If I raise the water again, I can see that these 3 buildings that I have defined with certain height are staying where they are. Dive into the water. Here they are. So this is a trick how to keep the buildings on ground if you raise water. It's actually the area of interest southeast of Munich. I will leave this. Use design roads as camera paths and how to create a nice camera path with points, because there's a nice and detailed description in the forum, just as an example, that the forums, if you read them regularly, also have nice tips and tricks available for you. This is the example I've just shown you about the buildings that float on the water. Just raise them by a certain delta Z value and lower them again. The next example is a Git error in the log file. So this is the part of the log file, and you see the Git exit code 128. Git output fatal, your current branch appears to be broken. This is actually a clear indication of a broken model data or Git data, and in this case the only I couldn't do anything about that, so I sent a copy of the model to our development team, and they were able to recreate the model. They the customer lost the last couple of changes in the model, but basically the model was recreated, and the customer happy. I recently had a case about a roundabout, and for some reason it was not possible to add a roundabout in a model. It was very strange, and I have not seen that before, and after testing a while I found that the model did not have any road design standards applied. This was strange because usually a road design standard is applied or selected automatically. For some reason it was missing in the model, and after setting a road design standard it was possible to use to create the roundabout again. InfraWorks is slow and freezes was one support case, and I looked at the log file and could see the unusual messages network error. I should try later again. There are network problems, and I can also see the milliseconds that were used, or how many milliseconds the program was freezing. And the final solution was that the customer was using a firewall that was blocking the program or the connection to the Autodesk servers. So that's another example of how the InfraWorks log files can show you what's happening exactly. One issue about FBX files that you export from InfraWorks 2017.2 and 2017.3 is that you cannot open them in AutoCAD or vertical products of AutoCAD 2017 and older. And the reason for that is that InfraWorks uses a new version of the SDK or software development kit for FBX, and AutoCAD versions do not have this version implemented yet. A workaround in the meantime is open these files, the FBX files, in, for example, Navisworks or 3ds Max or any other program that can use and read FBX files and save it as an older FBX version. One hint about custom coordinate systems: you can use custom coordinate systems with InfraWorks, but if you want to open those coordinate systems on another computer, make sure you have first copied these coordinate systems to the computer. If you open, for example, a drawing in AutoCAD that has a custom coordinate system, the coordinate system is automatically added to your model or coordinate system files, this does not work with InfraWorks. I think our development team is aware of that, and they have some thoughts about how this can be solved in the future. An issue with large coordinates with AutoCAD 3D models, or in general with 3D models, there is actually an issue with the Navisworks import if you use the local Navisworks import, and the file is actually placed, for example, in Civil 3D, it's placed in the right spot in the correct coordinates, but after the import the geometry is flat, and that is a Navisworks issue. If you use the cloud import for these products or for these objects, the geometry is nice. And don't make the same mistake I've made during the troubleshooting of this case. I switched off the city furnitures, and I just saw this small cube for the insertion point, and I thought something's wrong or corrupt with the model, but the layer was just switched off, so I couldn't see the geometry. Oops. A last thing. My example for the MS-Info32 file, there was InfraWorks could not be started. It just stopped after pressing the shortcut to start the program. Usually this points to a graphic cards issue, but the graphic card was okay, and the Windows error reporting showed a line like InfraWorks executable 2017.3 blah blah blah, where Lavasoft TCP service 64 DLL is blocking this executable. And I found out that the Lavasoft TCP service is a adware or malware tool that was installed automatically with another installation. The customer didn't know about that, and after uninstalling the Lavasoft software, InfraWorks worked fine again. So there's a lot of more that I can tell you, but I think there's no time for it now. Maybe sometime in the future again. I hope you have learned something new and it was interesting for you. With that, I give back to Eric and say until next time.
All right, Karsten, thanks a lot. That was some really great and deep information that I'm sure is going to help people out as they're troubleshooting their own InfraWorks models, or maybe, I know we've probably got a lot of BIM managers, CAD managers on the call that are supporting other folks in their offices, so that's going to be a big help. Before I let you go, I just want to remind everybody that our next webcast is Wednesday, April 19th, 12 to 1 Eastern, and the topic is what's new in InfraWorks and Civil 3D. So it's going to be really fun and cool. We'll hear from Dan and Dave and Sarah about the latest new features in InfraWorks and Civil 3D, so you definitely don't want to miss that webcast. Karsten, thanks for a great presentation. I saw Elliot was really busy in the background answering lots of questions. Really appreciate both of you guys coming on the call to support our cause. And I just want to wish everyone a great day, great rest of your week, and we hope to see you back here for another webcast in the future. Thanks. Bye.